I am making a Millennium deck profile, or Millennium Exodia deck profile, since I managed to get a hold of everything that was needed for the deck. I was just surprised it was all in one turn, or one day, or mostly one day. But anyway, starting off with the monsters. For the monsters, I play one of each of the Exodia pieces, just because to activate Millennium Monk, it does require that you have these 5 cards. I'll just have to. But for the Millennium monsters, I play one copy of Fiend Reflection of the Millennium. Fiend Reflection has the effect that if it battles a monster, neither monster can be destroyed by that battle, and then you can use each of the following effects of Fiend Reflection of the Millennium once per turn. Where once per turn, if this card's in your hand, you can place it in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell, and if your opponent activates a card or effect while it's a continuous spell, you can special summon this card, then you can gain life points equal to half the attack of one monster on the field. Next, I play 3 copies of Shield of the Millennium Dynasty. Shield of the Millennium Dynasty has the effect that it cannot be destroyed by spell and trap card effects, and then you can only use each of the following Shield of the Millennium Dynasty once per turn, where all of the Millennium monsters share the effect of if this card is in your hand, placing into your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell. And then while this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal 1 Millennium Ankh in your hand to special summon this card, then add 1 Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand. Whoops. Next, I play 2 copies of Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures. Golem has the effect that the activation of Millennium Ankh cannot be negated. You can only use each of the following effects of Golem once per turn, which is the placing your spell and trap zone, pay 2,000 life points, or reveal Millennium Ankh. And then when it's special summon it, and then you can add a Wedgwood Temple from your deck to your hand. And then lastly, for the Millennium monsters, I play 3 copies of Singenjin Wakes from a Millennium. Singenjin can't be destroyed by monster effects, and then you can only use each of the following effects of it once per turn, which is the place it in your spell and trap zone, then either pay 2,000 life points or reveal Millennium Ankh to special summon it. And then you can add a Millennium monster from your deck to your hand. And then for the monsters in my deck that are not Millennium monsters, I play 3 copies of Relinquished, because why not? It's just something I'm trying because I think it's funny. Relinquished has to first be ritual summoned by the effect of Black Illusion Ritual, but once per turn you target 1 monster your opponent controls, equip that monster to this card, where its attack and defense equal that monster's attack and defense. And then if Relinquished be destroyed in battle, you destroy the equipped monster instead, and then any battle damage you would have taken, your opponent takes instead. And Relinquish can only be equipped with 1 monster at a time with its own effect. And then I play 3 copies of Millennium Eyes Illusionist. That's part of the reason why, because Millennium Eyes and or the Millennium Eyes are strict. But anyway, Millennium Eyes Illusionist has the effect that you can discard target effect monster your opponent controls as a quick effect, to then equip it to an Eyes Restrict fusion monster or a relinquished you control as if it were equipped by that monster's effect. And then it also has the mandatory effect of if an Eyes Restrict fusion monster or relinquished is special summoned, add this card from your graveyard to your hand. And then lastly, I play 1 copy of Illusionist Faceless Magician. I'm trying this, but I'll probably also be adding 1 or 2 copies of Golden Eyes Idol, so I can also play 1,000 Eyes Restrict in case, because this card's funny. But Illusionist Faceless Magician has the effect of a face-up Eyes Restrict fusion monster or relinquished you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, special on this card from your or special on this card from the graveyard if it was there that monster was destroyed, or hand. Or if a relinquished or Eyes Restrict fusion monster is destroyed, you can special on this card from your hand or graveyard. And then when this card is destroyed, you can then special summon a relinquished or ice restrict fusion monster from your graveyard. One thing I like about this is that if you activate instant fusion to summon Thousand Eyes restrict, then you can. Then when Thousand Eyes is destroyed, you can summon this, and when your opponent destroys this, then it can summon back Thousand Eyes. That's what I still need to put in here. I still need to put instant fusion. Okay, I'm just gonna do that. Anyway, that was it for the monsters. For these spells, I play 2 copies of Black Illusion Ritual, and just because I also forgot to play it, I also play 1 copy of Instant Fusion to summon Thousand Eyes Restrict. The Black Illusion Ritual just lets you ritual summon Relinquished by attributing any monster that has a level. Next, I play 3 copies of Obliterate Blaze. Obliterate Blaze lets you make so that 1 level 10 or higher monster on the field with Exodia in its original name gains these effects, which it would just be the legendary Exodia. What was it? The legendary Exodia Incarnate? The Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. That's what it was. But it gives it Exodia the ability of you can pay half your life points, destroy as many cards in the spell and trap zones as possible, and then you can equip 5 forbidden ones from your hand or deck to that monster as equipped spells that give it 2,000 attack. And then, let's see, you can activate other card effects for the rest of the turn, so make sure that when you do use that, it's the last one you use. And the last effect is, if it attacks a monster in defense position, inflict piercing damage. The main thing is that this will make it so that Exodia gains 10,000 attack by piercing. Makes so that when it's attacking, someone is dying. Next, I play 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. This will just let you add a ritual spell and then a monster that ritual spell mentions from your deck to your hand. In this case, a Black Illusion Ritual and Relinquished. Then I play 3 copies of Relinquished Fusion. Relinquished Fusion lets you fusion summon an Ice Restrict fusion monster by banishing monsters from your hand or field, or from your hand, field, or graveyard as material. And then you can also banish this card from your graveyard, target a monster your opponent controls, and equip it to an Ice Restrict fusion monster or Relinquished you control as if it were equipped by that monster's effect. You can only use each effect of Relinquished Fusion once per turn. And the card I'm currently testing that I don't know how I feel about it, but I also play 3 copies of Eye of Illusion. Eye of Illusion can only be activated if you control an illusion or a spellcaster monster, but it lets you activate one of the following effects, where it makes it so that your illusion or spellcaster cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, which don't know why you'd be using that if you're using it on the Fiend Reflection. And then during your opponent's turn, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of it till the end of the turn. That's the one I mostly use, as one of my friends kept getting upset whenever I use this card whenever you normal summon a Rescue Rabbit. And then its last effect is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, except the attacking monster, to then change the attack to it and perform damage calculation. I just think this is a funny card. Worst case scenario, I'll take out these 3 and then toss in 1 copy of Instant Fusion, because I realized I forgot to play that. It just lets you pay 1,000 life points and then special summon a level 5. It's either level 5 or level 6 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck. However, it cannot attack and is destroyed during the end phase. Next, I play 3 copies of Wedju Temple. Wedju Temple has the effect that during your main phase, you can place 1 monster from your hand in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell, and then you can place a Millennium monster from your deck in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell. And then if a Millennium monster you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect, then you can place in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell instead of sending it to your graveyard, and you can only use each effect, or you can only use the first effect of Wedju Temple once per turn. That part of putting Millennium monsters in your spell and trap zone is not once per turn. Lastly, I play 3 copies of Millennium Ankh. Millennium Ankh is the card that you can just reveal, but when you activate it, you show 5 pieces or 5 Forbidden 1 monster cards from your hand, deck, and/or face-up field, and then you special summon 1 the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate from your extra deck. And then you shuffle all the face-up monsters you control into the deck, except for Exodia let's see, what was it? Except face-up Exodia monster cards whose original levels are 10 or higher, and Millennium monster cards, which I don't know if that includes or excludes Millennium Eyes Restrict, but I don't actually know. So if you do know, comment below. But then it also makes it so that also for the rest of the turn, you cannot see, also you cannot. Okay, it also makes so you can't special summon for the rest of the turn, and then after it's activated, instead of sending it to the graveyard, you just shuffle it into the deck. I apologize, I didn't know its effect beforehand, or I didn't have it memorized. That's it for the spells. For the traps, I play 3 copies of Exiled Fires of Rage. I'm probably going to reduce this to 2 so I can try Obliterate, but if I don't like Obliterate, then I will just play 3 copies of Exiled Fires of Rage. But it has the effect that's always treated as an Exiled card and Obliterate card. If you control level 10 or higher Exodia monster, destroy all cards your opponent controls. And then if this card is in the graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card to activate one of the following effects, where you can add a Forbidden 1 monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, or you can shuffle up to 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from your graveyard and or banish into the deck. You can only use each effect of Exiled Fires of Rage once per turn. And that is it for the main deck. Now for the extra deck. I play 1 copy of Relinquished Anima. Relinquished Anima lets you target 1 monster in a zone it points to, equip it to it, and then its attack equals that monster's attack. Then I play 1 copy of IP Masquerena. This just lets you link summon on your opponent's turn, and then a link monster that's link summoned using this card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Then I play 1 copy of Moon of the Closed Heaven. Moon of the Closed Heaven has the effect that you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls that this card points to. We should be reading it correctly. And then if you link summon a link 5 monster using this card you control, you can also use the target monster. The main reason you're playing this is for your Underworld Goddess, and I'll explain that when I get to it later. Looks like it's not focused. And then, yeah, you can only use that effect of Moon of the Closed Heaven once per turn. Then I play 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Nightmare Phoenix lets you discard a card when it's link summoned, to target a spell trap your opponent controls and destroy it. And then if this card is co-linked when you activate that effect, you get to draw a card. Then I play 1 copy of Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians. Selene has the effect that when it's link summoned, you can place spell counters on it equal to the number of spell cards on the field and in the graveyards. And then its other effect is you can remove 3 spell counters from your field to then special summon a spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. This is honestly only in here for one of the Link 4s, which I will get to real soon. Next, I also play 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Unicorn has the effect that when it's link summoned, you discard a card, target a card in your opponent's field, and shuffle it into the deck. Then I play 1 copy of Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. Appaloosa gains 800 attack for each monster used for its link summoning, requiring 2+ monsters with different names. And then once per chain, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can have activate Appaloosa's effect, have it lose 800 attack points to then negate that monster's activated effect. Then I play 1 copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is the monster usually summoning with Selene, as you'll have Selene summon back 1 monster, then link off Selene and the summoned monster for Access Code. Access Code Talker has the effect that your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's effect's activation. And then when it's link summoned, you target 1 link monster that is used for its link summon. It gains 1,000 attack times its link rating. So by using Selene, Access Code comes with 5,300 attack body. And then also, access code has the effect that you can banish a link monster from your graveyard to target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. And you can use that effect as many times as you like per turn, but you can only banish one link monster of each attribute per turn. And to finish off the link monsters, I play 3 copies of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Underworld Goddess of the Closed World can be link summoned by using 4+ effect monsters. And then when you link summon it, you can also use one monster your opponent controls. So by using Moon of the Closed Heaven, you get to use 2 monsters your opponent controls. And then since you're already using 2 monsters your opponent controls and Moon, you just need to use one of your own monsters to summon it. And then Underworld Goddess has the effect that when she is link summoned, you then get to, I believe, negate. Let's see. When it's currently summoned, you can negate the effects of all. Okay. When it's summoned, negate the effects of all monsters your opponent currently controls. Unaffected by your opponent's by activated card effects unless they specifically target Underworld Goddess. And lastly, when your opponent activates a effect that was summon a monster from the graveyard, you can negate the effect, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only use that effect of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World once per turn. And then I play 3 copies of Millennium Eyes Restrict. Millennium Eyes Restrict has the effect that if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can activate Millennium Eyes effect to target one monster from your opponent's field or graveyard and equip it to this card. And then it gains attack and defense equal to the combined attack and defense of the monster cards equipped to it. And the last important part of Millennium Eyes is that the activated effects of monsters your opponent activates that have the same name as a card that is equipped have their effects negated. So one thing you can do with Millennium Eyes Restrict is that if your opponent activates Ash Blossom, then you can chain Millennium Eyes to then equip the Ash Blossom and then negate the Ash. And then you can continue grabbing what you were. And you can only use that effect of Millennium Eyes Restrict once per turn. And then lastly, I play 3 copies of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. The Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate has the effect, cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. And then once per turn, if it battles, during damage calculation, you can make it so that it gains attack equal to your life points. And then let's see. And then once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card or the effect of a spell or trap, then you can negate that card's activation. And then once per turn during your end phase, or during the end phase, you can set an exodia or obliterate spell or trap from your deck. And then during your standby phase, lose 1,000 life points. And that is it for my Exodia deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks I can see made in the future, or decks I can see face each other, feel free to comment down below. I always read the comments. Thank you for watching.